All right, so Nvidia held a conference call with Wall Street analysts and revealed critical insights that I think Nvidia stock investors need to know about. Whether you're thinking about buying Nvidia stock or whether you already own Nvidia stock and you're thinking about taking profits and selling, I think these are things that you should know about before making that decision. So let me share with you these important details. Right. So first of all, Nvidia is making moves to diversify its supply chain away from outside of America. They've made substantial long-term commitments, a deep investment in America's AI manufacturing future, and their goal is to go from chip to supercomputer built in America within a year. And besides these investments, they've made others to help their suppliers like Taiwan Semiconductor and others to build manufacturing facilities inside the United States. One of the reasons why those companies haven't built manufacturing facilities in the United States is because the higher cost of production inside the United States. Another reason is because the supply chain is already concentrated in whatever regions they're operating inside. And so to move to another region would require moving also their partners and their suppliers. It's a big, difficult task, and their suppliers were hesitant to do so without longer term commitments and potentially price increases embedded in those longer term commitments. And it looks like Nvidia and Apple and others are providing suppliers like Taiwan Semiconductor with those longer term commitments, telling them, look, if you bring production to the US, we'll buy this much of your product that's produced here for this many years. Okay. And we'll also agree to pay you a 10% higher price or whatever higher price for producing here in the US because it diversifies our supply chain, it diversifies your supply chain. So we'll share some of the higher cost of production to be located inside the United States if you'll also share some of that cost. And so the industry supply chain is diversifying, bringing more into the United States. And of course, it's going to be a higher cost of goods sold. But I think companies like Nvidia and Taiwan Semiconductor, they can afford that, especially Nvidia. Nvidia's return on investor capital has been phenomenal in recent years, soaring all the way up to 145%, most recently 141%. And Nvidia has long been a very profitable business and very strong in returns on investor capital. So Nvidia can afford to pay a little bit more on their cost of goods of manufacturing in order to diversify the supply chain and reduce risk. They benefit from that. They will get a better valuation on the share price because the stock price will benefit from that de-risking of the supply chain. One of the reasons bringing and weighing on Nvidia's stock price is that supply chain risk. And especially for a company like Taiwan Semiconductor, the lower valuation for that company is very much due to the geopolitical risk of the primary region it operates inside. So these companies can benefit from diversifying away and into the United States, where a lot of their end users are based, right? A lot of the products that are manufactured by Taiwan Semiconductor and others that are outside of the United States ultimately end up in the hands of customers inside the US. And so it makes sense to have at least some of your manufacturing based near the customers that will end up using your products. So another thing that's going on is countries are racing to build national artificial intelligence platforms to elevate their digital capabilities. You saw a lot of this in recent weeks when President Donald Trump made a trip to the Middle East, and you saw contracts with Nvidia in the Middle East upwards of tens of billions of dollars, not just for AI, but not just for Nvidia, but for other AI companies as well, including AMD. And these countries are finding it strategically imperative to build their AI capabilities, not just for business, because of what it does on the battlefield too. The artificial intelligence has been proven to enhance a country's ability to wage war and defend itself on the battlefield. And so they see this as a critical need. And if they don't invest and their neighboring countries invest, they put themselves at risk. And so this is something that now they are literally racing to build as much as they can their AI capabilities, and NVIDIA is benefiting as a result. Much of the facilitation of this artificial intelligence is fueled by NVIDIA's technologies. So sovereign AI is a new growth engine for NVIDIA, which has already grown by so much in the last 3 years since the launch of ChatGPT. So NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang also highlighted the newer use cases for artificial intelligence. The way people are searching and engaging with these large language model is changing, and it's leading to more complex questions and more complex answers. So the longer the AI thinks, the better the answer, the smarter the answer. And so we would like to do, and the reason why Grace Blackwell was designed to give such a giant step up in inference performance is so that you can do all this and still get a response as quickly as possible. Compared to Hopper, Grace Blackwell, their newest generation technology, is 40 times higher speed and throughput. And this is going to be a huge benefit in driving down the cost while improving the quality of response. And I've been seeing that a lot with the newer generation AI models. Some of them have that deep research capability where you can ask it a complex question and it can go off on its own and spend 10 or 15 or 20 minutes researching the topic and bringing back to you a full report. So if NVIDIA's technology can speed up that process and you can get a full report back in a lot less time, then of course that makes that technology a lot more valuable to consumers and businesses alike. By the way, I got this conference call transcript from FinChat. They aggregate financial information from thousands and thousands of companies worldwide. You can find all that information in one place. Saves you a lot of time. And with the link in my description, you can also save 15% on your subscription to FinChat. The CFO of NVIDIA said that going forward, it's a bigger issue regarding the amount of the market we will not be able to serve. And this is in speaking about the restriction on sales of its technology to China. We assess that the total addressable market to be about $50 billion in the future, as we won't have a product to enable for China. And that's the biggest hit, right? They took a $4.5 billion charge for the inventory they won't be able to sell to China. But the CFO saying that the bigger issue is the fact that we're not going to be able to participate in that $50 billion market. And NVIDIA usually generates a strong market share in whatever market it operates because its technology is so far ahead of competitors. And so you can imagine the lack of ability to operate in that $50 billion market is an estimated, now this is my estimation based on NVIDIA's roughly 80% market share on a conservative calculation, that this could cost NVIDIA $40 billion in annual revenue, the overall restriction. Now, this restriction, the newest one, was for its lower generation technology, not the highest generation technology. But if it was allowed to sell its cutting edge technology into the Chinese market, I would estimate that it'll generate roughly $40 billion in annual revenue if the total addressable market is $50 billion. Not only because NVIDIA is going to get roughly 80% market share, but because there's going to be so much catch up from companies that did not have access to this technology. They'll want to catch up, and they'll also want to buy ahead for the future just in case there's another restriction. So this is a big downside here. And one of the, as an NVIDIA shareholder myself, one of the hopes I have, and I know it's a long shot, but with the negotiations between the United States and China on the tariff arrangements, maybe there's a deal there that eliminates that restriction and NVIDIA is allowed to sell into the Chinese market. Boy, would that be a boom for NVIDIA shareholders. So these are just some things that I thought NVIDIA shareholders need to know about before making a decision or buying or selling the stock. There's a lot more I think you need to know, and I'll link to several videos you're probably seeing popping up already that allows you to do further research on Nvidia stock. Thank you for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. I know there's a lot you could be doing with your time and a lot of other videos you could be watching. So I truly appreciate that you chose to watch this one. If you want to see more videos just like this, hit the subscribe or the like button. They'll both help me make more videos just like this one. Thank you again.